Hello, this is Dr. Glasbrenner from George Mason University, and in this video, we will learn how to use the mutate function from the dplyr package. We use the mutate function when we want to compute or transform something using the values of one or more columns within a dataset. This schematic illustrates how the mutate function acts on a tabular dataset that starts with n rows and p columns. The mutate function will perform the transformation that you tell it to do, and append the result as a new column to the data frame. This leaves you with a new data frame with n rows and p+1 columns. By default, the new column is appended to the end of the data frame. The structure of the mutate function is as follows. The dataset gets piped into the function. The function input takes a keyword on the left, followed by an equal sign, and a computation on the right. The keyword to the left of the equal sign is what you want to name the new column that gets appended to the end of the data frame. The computation on the right can make use of a wide range of operations and functions. This is also where you specify column names within the dataset, allowing you to perform computations and transformations using your data. The following is a list of some of the operators and functions that you can use with mutate. You can perform basic arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and raising to a power. You can perform modular arithmetic, such as integer division and finding the remainder, which is useful when you want to avoid using decimal numbers. You can also apply logarithms within mutate, and even logical comparisons similar to the ones we saw when discussing the filter function. Using these operations in combination with the columns in the dataset opens up a wide range of possibilities for you to perform calculations that transform your data. We now move into RStudio server for a screencast demoing how you can use the mutate function to transform the presidential dataset. Our first task will be to compute the term length for each of the presidents within the dataset and store the results in a new column named term_length. Unlike the examples we've seen up until this point, we will not print out the result immediately. Instead, we will be storing the results of this computation for later use. We do this by assigning the result to the variable term_pres. To indicate variable assignment, we then type the symbol <. Next, we type the dataset's name presidential. We then pipe presidential into the mutate function. Inside the mutate function, we first want to give the column we are creating a name. We will name it term_length. We then type an equal sign. After that, we type the function interval. This function comes from the lubridate package, loaded at the top of the R Markdown document. Inside of interval, we type start, comma, end. The words start and end are names of columns in the presidential dataset, and correspond to the start date and end date for each president's term. The interval function automatically computes the amount of time passed between the start and end date, taking care to handle peculiarities like leap years. Finally, we need to divide the time interval by d years 1. The d means duration. This performs a unit conversion, converting the number of years to a decimal value. We press the green play button to execute the code block. To check our results, place your cursor on the word term_pres and press the F2 button on your keyboard. This will open up a table representation of the saved dataset. As you can see, the term length is appended as a new column at the end of the dataset, and the values are in the units of years and represented as a decimal value. Next, let's use mutate to calculate the year that each president was elected. Like in our previous example, we will store this result for later usage. We will assign our results to a variable called elected_pres, which we type in the code block. Then, we type the assignment symbol <. We then type term_pres, which is the modified version of the presidential dataset we assigned and saved from the last example. We pipe this into the mutate function. Inside the mutate function, we first will name the column we are creating. Since we are finding the year each president was elected, let's name this new column elected. Then, we type an equal symbol. On the right, we specify our computation. We will type the function year, also from the lubridate package, and inside of year we pass the word start as input. Remember, the start column contains the date each president took office. The year function grabs the year from the full date, since that is the only information we need. We then will subtract 1 from the year. This is because, in the United States, the presidential election is held in November and the president-elect is sworn into office the following January. We execute this code block by clicking the green play button. To inspect the result, we place the cursor on top of elected_pres and press F2. Inspecting the updated table, we see that we have the new elected column with the values we expected. There is a problem with the years in the elected column. 2 of the presidents in the database, Lyndon Johnson and Gerald Ford, were not elected into office. Johnson took office after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and Ford took office after Richard Nixon resigned from office due to the Watergate scandal. We should update the elected column to reflect this. We will do this by removing the year for these 2 presidents and replacing them with NA to indicate a blank value. We will assign the updated dataset to a new variable named elected_pres2. We type that in our code block, followed by the assignment symbol less than hyphen. We then type the previous version of the dataset, elected_pres, and pipe that into mutate. Inside of mutate, we type elected because we wanted to overwrite the elected column with the fixed version. We then type equals, and then the function if_else. If_else is a handy function that is somewhat like filter, in that it uses rules to determine what it will do. Our rule is the following. If the name of the president is Johnson or Ford, then we should put in a blank NA value, else leave the value in the elected column as it is. In code, this is name = Johnson, which is in quotes, then the bar to signify the OR operator, then name = Ford, also in quotes. We type a comma, and then we write as.numeric NA. The as.numeric is important as only numeric values are allowed in this column. We type comma, and then the word elected. The first input is the rule. The second input, as.numeric NA, is what happens if the rule is true for a given row. The third input is what happens if the rule is false for a given row. Let us now check our results. We place the cursor on elected_pres2 and press F2. Indeed, we see exactly what we wish to see. The elected column now shows the election year for all presidents except Johnson and Ford, who instead have an NA value there to signify that they were not elected into office, but instead took over due to the sitting president no longer being able to serve.